Friday here on the East Coast of the United States. Welcome to the Roundtable with our friends and yours here on Lux's Twitch channel. And man, we're here. We're gonna talk. We're gonna bring some more hot takes about Obi-Wan today. But before we get there, I want to introduce some of my friends here. 4 of my friends, because I did that last time, and starting with Jesus, who's always here with us, and below me, Captain Templar 10. Templar, how are you on this fine Friday afternoon?
Ooh, Captain, I like that.
You want to be? I was thinking about this. I was trying to think. So we did this like in our Dream Team thing. We did a personality profile thing last night, and I was working out this morning, and I was trying to figure out like roles that would be based on all the colors. So like Captain, Lieutenant, Admiral, Private, gunnery sergeant and stuff. And
Surf. Peasant.
Peasant, yeah.
Surf.
And I'm a green. Templar's a green, and I kind of came up with like greens are like the captains. Like we don't get in the trenches. We let other people kind of get in the trenches. We sort of like look at the battle plan and go like, I don't know, let's make that better. So you're a captain today, Templar. How's that feel?
Hey, I'll take it, man. It works for me.
Cool.
Yeah, we're the ones who make the plans and then criticize everyone else's plans. It's not a bad role. It's pretty good.
Not wrong.
You just got to sit back and then tell everyone else why they're wrong. And then, you can offer an alternative or not. It doesn't really matter. It's fun either way.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And I don't have to get my hands dirty. And then I can go home and sleep in my own bed at night. It's really totally awesome. To his right, we have. To his right, we have Navalis. Nav, did you get assigned a color? I don't think you did you?
No, I was busy and I saw that and I never got. I'll have to do it.
Okay.
So,
I'm gonna assign you. What do we think?
Okay.
Gold, maybe.
I think he's a gold.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Yeah. So gold would be like the lieutenant, like the one that's leading the charge of like the I don't know what they lead 8 people. They lead like a squad. And so you're leading a squad, but you're the one that's like making sure that everyone's on par. You're like watching everybody's back. You're making sure like nobody's dying. You're the dude that's like, you're Obi-Wan running back into the line of fire, pulling out whomever, Tala or whoever's dying there.
Yes.
That's foreshadowing, by the way. So congratulations, Nav.
Yes, that's what that's called.
I mean, that could
warning,
like, yeah.
coming in hot.
I would say I'm gold.
Yeah, absolutely. You're gold. And to my right, Mark, a.k.a. Pastor Mark, a.k.a. The Lift, who is an orange. Is that right?
Orange. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, someone has to be the foot soldier, right? There's somebody who has to be the one who gets shot at. They can't all tell people what to do.
No. See, orange, what I came up with was orange is like the spy. I don't know. Did you ever play that game Stratego?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Stratego had the spy, the one that was just kind of slinking around, going everywhere, taking out the bombs. That's what orange is. Orange is the one that like is just bent on chaos, is bent on like wrecking everybody's world, but like kind of doesn't answer to anybody else, just kind of does his own thing. That's what I feel like an orange is.
Spy.
Yeah.
The spy.
Nice.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take the spy.
I'm telling you, this has been rattling around in my brain for a little bit. And I'm Andy, Chino Mage. Welcome to the show today. We are joined in chat by what seems to be a million people. Alex is in here. Josh Handback is in here. Zeph is in here. Surreal's in here. I'm losing all of my windows right now. Beggy Man, hello. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're joining us from. And everybody else in the chat, thanks so much for being here. Quick question before we get going. If you could have any superpower out of the main superpowers, what would it be?
Oh, wow.
Oh. You're just going to drop that on us?
Yeah.
Just like that?
Yeah. I mean, it's
warning?
No, it's better. Thing? It's better when you don't think about it, because this is like the true like essence of who you are.
Oh, flying.
Wow.
With gas prices how they are, flying.
You're definitely a gold. You're definitely Captain Practical. I like it.
I've always really loved, like, Flash is my favorite hero, so I think speed. I think super speed.
Okay.
I mean, Zoom, Flash's villain is like chaos. I mean, if you're gonna be a spy, being fast is probably a good thing, because you got to get away when you get caught, right? So.
Not wrong.
Speed.
Templar.
I mean, can I just pick a hero? Like, I'll just take Shazam's thing. Like, he has
Oh,
because he has like a bunch of stuff rolled in there. Like, if I had to
Yeah,
pick
so
one out
you
of
wanna-
Shazam's,
you want to
if I had to pick
you
one
wanna
out of
randomly
Shazam's
split?
powers,
That's like wishing for a million wishes, though. That doesn't count. Like you gotta pick.
Okay.
You gotta pick one of like the
one
pillars.
of Shazam's things is like the wisdom of Solomon. I'll take that.
Okay, yeah, that's
doesn't Shazam randomly split into like 5 teenagers and a tiger or something?
you're thinking Power Rangers.
No. It's not Power Rangers. There's definitely a version of Shazam that breaks into a bunch of teenagers.
There is a version where it's like 5 of them and they all become Shazam.
Yeah.
In the new DC movie, like, or in the DC movie Shazam, there's like 6 different people and they all kind of become their own Shazam.
That's true.
Oh.
Yeah, that's at the end of the movie. They all kind of.
But Shazam is an acronym, right? It stands for like, I shouldn't have said that because now I don't remember what the acronym is, but like
That's Captain Planet.
it's like strength. No, it's like strength of Hercules, speed of who is it? Hermes or something. Like, it's like a bunch of different powers related to like historical or mythological or biblical figures.
Is the Z Zeus?
Probably.
That would be the only god I could think of that
Maybe.
had anything.
Yeah, something.
To be
like
fair,
that. But I'll
Shazam,
just
as
take
soon
that.
as you
I'll
look
take
him up,
like super
online.
wisdom. I feel like it's more applicable in every situation.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, we're here. We've got it in the chat. Let me know. Zeph already said that she would have what? Telekinesis. Alex wants shapeshifting. That's a good one. The Josh Hamback wants flying. I'm gonna go with flying because I hate flying in an airplane, and so it's obviously the best way to go. Anywhere, it's the quickest way to go, and so if I can just do it myself, I'd be done. We're going to move on into something that's a little more palatable, what we've been playing, watching, consuming in nerd culture. Mark, we're going to start with you this week because you usually are the last one. So we're going to go roundabout. What have you been watching, playing, consuming, listening to?
Jen and I finished part 1 of Stranger Things season 4 this past week, and that was incredible. It's a perfect. I saw somebody who actually said like they made an article comparing the way that Stranger Things introduced his characters and has you fall in love with them and root for them and fight for them or hate them, and the way that Star Wars shows introduce characters and how they make you so sad about everything. And so I really love that comparison because my goodness, the Stranger Things season 4 characters are incredible, and we really enjoyed that. As far as what I've been gaming, Elder Scrolls Online came out a week or so ago with a brand new expansion called High Isle, and that has been more fun to play than I expected. I was not excited about it, but there's a ton in it, and so I've been playing that on stream and really enjoying that. And then I got back into Legends of Runeterra, and I played Path of Champions for the very first time since they re-released it. And I played that crap for like a lot this week. Like I like in my moments, like it replaced Super Auto Pets for me, and then also like TFT for me this week, which is saying a lot because TFT has a new set that's out. That's Teamfight Tactics. And I love a fresh set and ranked in TFT. But I've been playing a lot of Path of Champions and I've been really enjoying that. So yeah, a little bit of ESL, some Stranger Things, Path of Champions, unfortunately Kenobi, but yeah, those things.
Sweet. Nav, what about you?
I've been playing Mass Effect, so that has taken my free time when I can play. I beat Mass Effect 1. I put on the easiest setting, so I just want to breeze through the story to get to Mass Effect 2. And
Sure.
pick Soldier because it just kind of reminds me a little bit of Gears of War
Yeah.
and the combat system. So it was fun, enjoyed it. It was like hanging out with old friends you haven't seen in a while. That's what it felt like. I was like, oh yes, this character, and it was just like remembering things. It was like, good memories and stuff like that. So it was really fun. I'm on Mass Effect 2 right now. Just recruited my first character and that I need for my teammate in that game. And so we'll see how much more I gotta there's a whole thing with the loyalty missions and stuff. I won't get into it. If you haven't played Mass Effect 2, you should play it because the final ending mission is crazy. Blew my mind when I first played it. So I've been playing Mass Effect 2. Then I downloaded a game called Neon White on my Switch. It is. Check it out. It's an indie game that got really good reviews. I haven't played it. It's like $22 right now. And it is
Exterminating
like
demons in heaven? Whoa.
Yeah, okay. It's like totally like anime, totally weird, but it said it's like a speedrunner. You use cards to battle, and like the story is pretty good. It's kind of like a mixture of like three other things. Like just look at some reviews, check it out. It's hard to explain what it is, but everyone who's played it has been raving about this game.
Huh.
And so you can sit down and play a few levels. It's like speedrunning, so you can be at a level in 30 seconds or less. But you can do it again to try to make it shorter. There's global rankings and stuff like that. So, but and
Dang.
it's like it looks really fun. It looks really cool.
This
so
has got like
the art
a
style, all of that.
It feels like Mirror's Edge meets holy stink, what's the game I'm thinking of? It's Annapurna. Devil May Cry meets like Team Fortress 2 or something. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, because you have cards. You have like a sword, but you have a shotgun. If you like discard the shotgun card, you get like a double jump. So you have to like use your resources as you're running through the level, so you can beat enemies or finish it quicker. And it's like cycling through cards. So if you like cards, speed running, kind of like roguelike a little bit, because it's not really roguelike, but it's like you can retry the levels over and over again to get a faster time. But yeah,
that's great.
And there's a good story, and there's a hub world and all that stuff. So check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Before
I'll let you guys know. Sorry.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
I'll let you guys know in a couple of weeks what I think of it. So I'm about to start it today.
Who was the first character you recruited in Mass Effect 2? Is it Jacob?
The scientist guy, the Solarian scientist.
Oh, yeah.
Morden. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I forgot how much I kind of like his character. It's kind of like he like wants to save people, but he also says the best way to save people is sometimes to kill them too. And I'm like.
Sheeb's throwing fire in the chat right now at Templar's keyboard, which I'm liking it.
My wife is flaming me, and I'm not even the one making the noise. I'm literally, it's not my keyboard. And my wife is like, Mark's too loud. Like, what the heck? I'm not even the one making the noise.
Just Mario fireballs coming from the chat.
If anybody makes any noise on the internet, it's my fault, evidently. If it's too loud, it must be Mark.
To be fair, Templar, I have a special custom-made keyboard just for when I'm online. It's got Boba U4Ts that don't make any sound. Otherwise, I've got like a very clacky keyboard back there. But like when I'm live, I don't want people to hear me going all over the place. Not saying you do that. I'm just absolving myself of all responsibility here, because that's what we do.
The flaming continues. Steve says you are a loud person, to be fair. Okay. But
I mean, he's not wrong.
Okay.
Cool. Moving right along. Templar, what have you been playing, watching, absorbing, listening to?
Quite a few things. But before we move on from Mass Effect, Nav, who's your favorite crew member, or anyone who's played Mass Effect? Who's your favorite teammate, crew member? Put it in the chat if you've played Mass Effect, the Mass Effect games.
It's got to be Rex.
For the first is Rex. I like
only
Rex.
in one
Rex
game.
just like, and there's a part in Mass Effect 2 where you and Shepard and Rex have this moment type thing where they, it's like a respect moment type thing.
Yep,
it's like
very
really
tender.
funny.
Yeah,
it's very funny too at the same time. So my favorite character. Oh man, there's so many. There's so many in Mass Effect 2 because the DLC is included in this with all the characters.
Ooh.
I would have to say I like Garrus a lot in the first one as well. The Turian, he was an interesting character. I mean, the characters all have. Ashley was more xenophobic towards aliens. I'm trying to think right here. I think Rex was the best one because the whole genophage thing about his race and all that stuff was very interesting. His backstory, and then the whole going to the scientist facility about the genophage and stuff like that was like you had to like work through that moment. So anyway, I think Rex right now is the first one. I'll let you know in Mass Effect 2 once I get through all the characters to remember. But I like Rex a lot.
Templar, who's yours?
He's a dinosaur. That's cool.
He's a dinosaur.
The Krogan, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably Garrus, because I mean he just kind of rides with you through all three games.
Yep.
But in terms of the characters that aren't in it as much, I'd say probably Thane. I think Thane is a really cool character, but he's only really in the second one.
Yeah.
And he appears in the third one, but he's not in your party anymore. But for him only being in really one of the games, I think they do a lot with his character. So it's very interesting. But what have I been playing recently and consuming? I mean, I got into Peaky Blinders on Netflix.
Good show.
I've watched the show, the British mob show, basically British gangster show with Cillian Murphy and Tom Hardy, and it's a great cast. So I made it. The seasons are relatively short; they're only 6 episodes, but I've made it up to the beginning of season 5, and I've taken a bit of a break from the last week or so. But I kind of binged that for about a week. Really into it. Tom Hardy just absolutely crushes that show. He's so good. Beyond that, what have I been playing? I've been jumping around to a lot of different games. There hasn't been anything really consistent. I played a bit of War Thunder, a bit of Sniper Elite 5, a bit of Hearts of Iron. I re-downloaded Empire Total War.
Yeah.
And I was playing a little bit of that. So I've just been jumping around a lot. I played a couple games of the new TFT set, and it's been pretty fun. A little bit of everything, and then I've just been watching some random movies. I rewatched Train to Busan, love that. I don't know if Doc's in the chat, but we had a bit of a discussion about that in the Discord. To me, it's one of the best zombie movies. I'll stack it up against basically anything. Train to Busan. And I watched the sequel, which was a bit disappointing, I have to say. It's more of just kind of a straight down, kind of on rails action movie. Is okay. Some weird CGI in it, but it was okay. Anyway, a lot of stuff, but and then I watched a cool Lovecraftian horror survival, like suspense movie called Underwater, with Kristen Stewart.
Yes, I remember seeing that.
I posted it in the Discord.
Yeah.
And it's not breaking any new ground, but like if you like those kind of claustrophobic creature, whatever, like survival, sort of intense, if you like that kind of vibe, I think it's pretty cool. It's sort of got a bit of an alien type of vibe to it, but it's underwater. It's at like an underwater base, so yeah, that was fun if anyone's into that. But yeah, I heard
it felt a little bit like BioShock, a sci-fi BioShock, in terms of like the tubes and kind of the psychosis that was happening. Is that true?
It's not that stylized.
Okay.
I mean, BioShock has a real Art Deco, like 20s, 30s thing going on. It's not that style. But I mean, I guess it is like an underwater, so I guess it's sort of somewhat similar to Rapture, but aesthetically it's not at all like BioShock.
Okay.
But it's not bad. Again, it doesn't break any new ground, but if you just want to throw on something that's kind of intense, I think it had some good suspense moments, got a little bit of horror going on, but nothing too crazy. I had some fun with it.
Awesome. I have my turn, and my son just graduated last weekend, so we had in-laws in town. Yeah, it's totally dope. Yeah, he graduated with honors, summa cum laude, like 40-something in his class out of 400. The kid is just amazingly intelligent. But we had in-laws in town from Thursday to Monday. They were staying in this studio, which is also the guest bedroom. So my studio was completely torn down. So I had no Xbox computer or anything. I just had my laptop. I had my Switch. And so I started, for whatever reason, it was the only game. I was flipping through all my Switch games, and I went, you know what? I'm going to play Fire Emblem again. 3 Houses. And so I just started playing 3 Houses. That game is anime as crap, but it's really good. And I chose a different house than I chose before, and it was great. I only played maybe an hour of it while I was like getting ready for bed and all this other stuff. But so with all the graduation stuff, we didn't have time to play a whole lot of video games. However, my wife and I were sequestering ourselves in our bedroom while some of the craziness was happening during the grad party and all that. And we started Severance. I don't know if you guys have watched Severance yet. She hated it. I loved it. I think it's amazing. Highly recommend it. That's an incredibly cool concept. It's an incredibly depressing concept, but one that I want people to get invested in a little bit. And then she and I blew through the 2nd season of Upload. And I don't know if you guys have watched Upload yet. It is an Amazon Prime show that is all about after you die, if you're rich, you get uploaded into heaven, basically. And so it's this entirely virtual world. And you think it's just going to be this serene sort of whatever. And there's like a murder mystery that happens. It's a interesting premise. It's by Greg Daniels, one of the co-creators of The Office and Parks and Rec, and something else. I can't remember what else Greg Daniels did. So it's got kind of a quirky vibe to it, but there's a really cool murder mystery aspect to it. It's kind of like it has that feeling of, if you guys watched Only Murders in the Building, with Steve Martin and Martin Short, and oh my gosh, you guys watch that show. It is fantastic. It's on Hulu. It's hysterically awesome, but it's like this. It's funny, but there's this veneer underneath it of like, ooh, there's a thriller happening here. So it's a really cool mixture of that. Highly recommend that. I'm having trouble keeping up with the chat right now. So if there's, there's a lot happening in the chat, and I'm very proud of all of you. Yeah,
all good.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm like trying to talk, and like on my teleprompter, I see the chat over on the side, like just scrolling through. So keep it up, guys. I appreciate it. So that's what we've been playing, watching, whatever you guys have been playing, watching, listening to. I saw Josh chiming in there, and he kind of started off a firestorm of he's been playing a lot of ESO, and then he's also been watching a lot of DC movies, and that kind of got him flamed a little bit because most DC movies are crap. And so congratulations, Josh. Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true.
Yeah, it's going to be awful.
Yep. We want to move on to something a little bit more touching, a little bit more in depth, and what started as a mea culpa to Templar's rant last episode about Obi-Wan has quickly turned into Nav and I, and Mark to a lesser extent, but us in particular getting fired up about the show that is sweeping the nation right now, sweeping the world, sweeping the universe.
Yeah.
And that's Obi-Wan. And we wanted to talk a little bit about the latest couple of episodes and share some thoughts. And so, Nav, I'm gonna cede the floor to you.
Okay.
As you kind of let us know where your heart and your mind have been on this majestical journey across Tatooine and wherever the heck else they've been.
I have titled this "The Bad, the Lazy, the What the Heck." Okay.
I'm on board. This sounds great so far.
I'm glad it has a title. I'm glad that you've written a poem.
Yeah, I do. I wasn't that
If no
prepared
one,
when I did
no
my
one believes
rant.
me,
This is professional.
I have notes. Okay.
This is
Let me
professionalism right here.
start off with a haiku, guys.
Webster's
Star Wars
Dictionary
is
defines
the-
crap as Obi-Wan.
Yes. All right. Okay. I'm gonna keep this.
Welcome to the chat.
I'm just gonna
Bougie.
go through these
Thanks for
points.
jumping
You guys-
in here.
Yes. You guys can interject, but I have 8 points on the show. There could have been more, but I limited myself. All right, because I kept typing. I'm like, I got to stop. All right. I'm gonna start off with the cool points. Okay. I have only 2. Okay. This is. Okay. We're gonna talk about episode 5 mostly. Then I'll harken back to episode 3 on one of the points. And the only two cool points, I did like the flashbacks with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Okay. I thought that was kind of cool, talking about aggressive, and it was kind of like a little bit of training type thing. I thought that was kind of cool. Yes.
Okay, why was Anakin like 40? I mean, he looked he looked like a
because
like
they
a,
are in real life.
I know, but he looked like a Wall Street like stockbroker when he was standing there with that dumb braid. Like, dude, did you dress up to go to your daughter's dance? Is that what happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm just talking about the scene. I'm not talking about what they look like, the costumes, how it was just like, I like the flashback, but it was like, okay. See, I don't want to get into that because that could have been points too. Okay. Vader, showing how powerful Vader was, I thought that was cool, but I also have issues with it at the same time. Okay, because he is the chosen one. He's supposed to be one of the most powerful Jedi to ever walk the planet, walk the galaxy, whatever. Okay, if you want to put it that way. So I thought that was kind of cool. But here is my points. First, okay, this is the episode 5 spoilers here, okay? I'm not going to get into detail. 1, the tracker, okay. How do you not check for one, all right? You're Obi-Wan Kenobi. You've gone through the Clone Wars. You know about trackers and droids and everything, and yet you don't think, oh, Leia has a droid. I should check it, make sure there's no tracker, because that's the oldest trope in Star Wars is trackers and droids, and no one thinks to check for them. All right, if you are captured by Imperials and then all of a sudden you're just let go.
Oh no!
Oh, that escaping droid.
No, you're back. I thought Darth Vader froze your stream.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know. Okay. All right. If you heard me, trackers. Okay, check for one. If you get released by the Imperials easily, check your clothes, check the droids are with you, check your ship before you land on the secret base. Anyway, okay, trackers. Like, I know how to do that. All right. Second, all right, Obi-Wan giving up and then being released. The third sister being swayed too easily, like emotionally and all this other stuff. I had so many issues with that because it's like, okay, this one is someone who's been indoctrinated from an early age all the way to the point she's an adult. And all of a sudden Obi-Wan says, hey, remember when you're young and all this happened with Anakin, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, now I want to kill Anakin. Like, I felt like it was it was poorly done. It was just poorly done. And okay, I'm not going to go into more of that. Watch it. It was stupid. Okay, that was just like they're trying to get a point across. Number 3, the vent. Only a little child can get into a vent. Who designed that place? Okay, so if something goes wrong and you can't fix it, the only person that go in there is a little kid. It's like, I'm sure there's other people that can get into that vent besides Leia that knows what they're doing, all right, and check out and see what's wrong. It's like, oh, this guy's like, look at me. Like, I can't fit in it. Sure, you can't fit into it, but there's other people that are there. All right, why are you sending Leia in it? That was like frustrating. It's like that was just to give her something to do in the show because she was literally pointless in that whole episode.
She's been pointless in the whole show. There. She has not had a point in the entire run of this show yet. Oh, okay, your turn.
She was
your
kidnapped.
turn.
She was kidnapped.
Your turn.
Yeah, but she's a means to an end that's pointless. Okay, that's okay.
And all of a sudden she knows how to work like microconductors. What is going on here? She's 10. She doesn't know how to run, but she knows how to fix mechanical things that are going on an alien planet with Ice Cube's son, who that actor was. Like, Ice Cube's son is just standing there going, hey, dude, go up there and fix the thing. Oh, yeah, cool. I know quantum physics and mechanics. I don't know how to run away from adults, but gosh darn it, I'll go and fix a circuit breaker to make sure that all these helpless people can get off this freaking planet.
Yeah. Okay, and also she finds the droid and she's like, huh.
Yes.
Like lifts up his wing and pulls the tracker off. It's like no one thought about doing that on the droid in the first place. Goes back to point number 1.
A restraining bolt.
Okay?
And the droid had red eyes. He had red. That's like the telltale sign. Look for the red.
Oh man. Okay, then
Evil droid.
Number 4. Darth Vader's so powerful, yet in episode 3, he couldn't stop Obi-Wan from escaping across the fire. It shows him like pulling down a freaking ship, okay? And then, sorry, language, okay. And then like Obi-Wan's on the other side, be carried away from a droid that's across like 30 feet of fire. That's it. And he just stands there and watches him leave. But in this episode, he uses the Force to pull down a ship. Okay, inconsistent. All right, that's yeah. And then also 2 ships. What in the world? Okay, watch the episode. What was that? I don't even know. I can't even comment on it because it was so bad. Okay, I was like, that was the stupidest thing. It's like, so they had 2 ships, so they only okay. But anyway, it's like, how did Vader? Okay, just watch it.
And how did the one take off? Like, who was somebody piloting that one? There was no robo controls. They didn't show anything. I mean, sure, it could have been under drone control at some point, but like, it's a big hangar. You would be able to see 2 ships, and like, they don't just start up and go. Like, you're not lying dormant, and all of a sudden, they go, and you're Darth flippin' Vader. Can you not sense that there's nobody on that one ship, that they're like 100 feet away? Come on. And by the way, the ship is leaving, and you can't just do the same force pull. Did you use up your power bar? Do you need to go take a potion for more mana? Like, what is going on here?
He's like, hang on, I need to recharge, okay? I don't know. It's like, he pulls down one, and it's like, oh, just watches the other one.
I'm out of force juice.
My earphones, I'm so like...
Beggy Man's in the chat, like, trying to level up his argument skills on this show. Like, I ain't having it right now. I ain't having it. I saw you misunderstanding with what's happening between Obi-Wan and Third Sister. I get it. It's all stupid. I understand it, and it's all bad.
I understand. I just don't agree with it. We can disagree on that. I just don't agree how it was done. I knew exactly what was happening, but it was so poorly done that I don't like it. All right, there you go. And then the Third Sister betrayal, the whole plot thing with Vader knowing about her and all this other stuff, and then the Inquisitor being there, and then it's like she didn't die after getting. Okay, spoilers here. If you didn't watch it, she gets stabbed by a lightsaber and doesn't die. Everyone else does, but her. Okay, like, explain that to me. I don't know. And then the last thing, point number 8. Oh yeah, the hyperdrive is not working. The biggest classic trope in Star Wars. They take off. That ship, remember, it came there with a hyperdrive, but all of a sudden it's been sitting there for a little bit, and they take off, and the hyperdrive's now just not working. Just because to advance the plot line. It's like, oh, by the way, Obi-Wan, the hyperdrive's not working. They're right behind us.
Everything in the show is to advance the plot line. I think that's where, like, this all comes to. Like, they don't feel the need to explain anything. Like, any explanation they give is meaningless, right? Because if you think about any of it for more than 5 seconds, it doesn't make any sense. They show you the second ship. You can see the second ship at the beginning of the episode. They do. It's on screen briefly.
Yes.
Now, they don't want you to notice that it's there, but the fact that it is there then completely makes the rest of the episode pointless. Because the whole idea of them staying there is because he asks Ice Cube's son, I don't remember the character's name. Again, he's the best actor in the episode by far, I think. For the ship to go to Alderaan, and he's like, no, these people have been waiting for months. We have to, like, wait, and then we all go together. But you have 2 ships, and clearly it shows that all of the people could fit on either one of them.
Right.
So they could have just taken one of the ships, and then the rest of the people could have taken the other ship. There's no reason for this episode to even happen.
Right.
None of it.
Right.
None of the things in this episode make any sense. Also, why have they been waiting months to get rid of these people? Like, all of a sudden, Obi-Wan shows up, and then they're like, oh yeah, now we have hours before this trade route closes. Well, why have they been waiting for months then? You have a ship right there, and it works because you fly away in it at the end of the episode. So what do you mean? And then Darth Vader leaves Reva on the ground. Why? Because she needs to be alive for the next episode to happen.
She needs to find Obi-Wan's cell phone and then make sure that she can read his text message from Jimmy Smits.
Which you wouldn't delete because, you know, why would you ever delete a like really secretive message about literally the one person that you're supposed to defend in the entire galaxy existing?
And so, like, I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand what's happening now, and I'm sure next week it'll be fine and it'll be glorious, and there'll be another great fight scene to try to mask over what's happening, because that's basically essentially what all of this has been, is 2 fight scenes masking over 5 episodes of absolute trash. But the thing that is going to happen now is what the Third Sister was trying to kill Darth Vader, but like trying to kill Obi-Wan, but now she's going to go track down Luke and try to commit infanticide. Like, why? What's the point of that? Is she going to try to prove herself? Is she going to make to protect? Maybe she's going to have like another heel turn and try to kill Darth Vader again. Like, I don't. This feels like a bad WWE plot, and like I can't. I've been. This is the most frustrated I've been about a Star Wars related product since like Jedi Academy 2, the video game back in like 2005 on the GameCube, which was a total pointless, buggy mess of a game. Like, this feels awful. This feels worse than Boba Fett to me. It feels like a betrayal. That's what it feels like.
I like Boba Fett. I like
mean,
Boba Fett.
They did nothing to establish that this character was good at all. And then now, in like 2 episodes, all of a sudden they want to switch it to saying that, well, she's actually just had a tough upbringing and she like went through this trauma.
She hid among dead bodies.
And that excuses her literally rounding up Force sensitive people and murdering them. And yeah, now we're supposed to be on her side because we're supposed to believe that instead of like actually doing something helpful for people, like to fight against Darth Vader. She thought the best plan was to like become an Inquisitor, murder like dozens, if not hundreds of people over the course of her time as an Inquisitor. In the first episode, she cuts off someone's hands for no reason, even though she can apparently read some people's minds. But now, no, she's actually the good person. She's actually just misunderstood. Like that's the message. Like that's what we're supposed to get out of this. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. That makes sense.
I will share. I have not seen episode 5 yet, but I have seen episodes 3 and 4. So I won't even get into it because the end of episode 3 was one of the most infuriating things that I've seen in Star Wars. You can't. Yes. Like, okay, so we got Luke in episode 8, we got Obi-Wan in the beginning of this one, and then we got Vader at the end of episode 3, and then we get into episode 4, and I will say there's actually a couple of cool moments thematically, like looks-wise, like they do the lightsabers really well, at least in episode 4. Like, Obi-Wan's lightsaber is like crazy glow. It's like super glow, double extra lightsaber glow. And there are a couple of scenes in it. There's plenty of things that don't make sense. The thing that doesn't make sense the most is how Obi-Wan is incapable of moving a lipstick, but he can hold back the ocean. And then after he moves, after he stops the ocean, It is not the window that is broken that shatters, but it is all of the other windows that shatter. And then he makes it through a door, and no water makes it through the door. Yep. And I'm not sure how water works other places in the galaxy, but that is not how water works here. And so, I thought episode 4. I haven't seen 5 yet. I now got the major plot points. I haven't seen 5 yet.
And the best part: 2 Jedi, 1 trench coat.
Oh,
yeah. That's particularly.
Amanda was like, people are stupid in this show.
There's actually a point where they get stopped and the Inquisitor is yelling at Obi-Wan, and he has turned around with Leia, and they're being surrounded by troopers. But as they're filming Obi-Wan, there is just extras in stormtrooper costumes casually walking past in the background, not paying attention to what's going on. I'm like, what are those guys doing? What are they doing? Why they don't have guns out? They're not paying attention. They're not looking what's happening. They're just continuing to load stuff onto ships and patrol. Like, what is happening?
I think it was filmed during COVID, so maybe there was restrictions. I don't know. Let's go with that.
I don't know. Only so many people were able to participate in arrest at a time. According to Imperial law, nope, there's 15 guys arresting this Jedi. We're not allowed to have any more arresting the Jedi. It kills productivity. We need to continue loading bins. And so I was just like, I was freaking beside myself in episode 3 and parts of episode 4. But there is one really cool part where there are lightsabers. And that I did like. That's what I'm
saying. That's what I'm saying. The entire show is 2 fight scenes that have been awesome. The one in episode 5 and the one in episode 3, and that's been it. Everything else has been just like 45 minutes of character development and then credits. What? And it's not even good character development.
It's generous calling it character development.
It's
45 minutes of characters talking. I mean, episode 4, the worst part is they took the 2 worst characters in the whole show and figured that like the best thing to do in that episode would be to take them and then have most of the episode be the 2 characters that nobody likes, that are the most annoying, talk to each other for like most of the episode.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is a lady whispering into a microphone while Obi-Wan is supposedly sneaking around this base. Like, and meanwhile, there's a dude 5 feet from her, and she's like, "Go through the door." It's like, "Can you see the droids around the corner?" Like, how suspicious is this? It's like, how blind is the other guy? Then someone interrupts her. She leaves. She gets up, and then she murders this guy like 10 feet behind him, behind a see-through stack of servers or something, and just leaves his body there, and then goes back to the desk. The dude is still right there next to her. Like, what? Like, that's this episode. And then the trench coat was the most ridiculous thing I've maybe ever seen on TV. Like
The-
nobody's
the
wearing nobody's wearing those trench coats at all around. Nobody's wearing the hat around. It looks like he has a giant growth off his side.
Well, it feels
if
like
you're like blind, it looks
And her
like he has a
legs.
giant growth
Yeah,
on his side.
it feels like the Little
It's
Rascals. That's what it
ridiculous.
feels like. It feels like Alfalfa was on Spanky's shoulders, and they're trying to buy cigarettes or ice cream or something. That's what it feels
Yeah,
like.
it's like literally the meme of like 3 kids in a trench coat.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah.
Like it's just way sticking out to the side. The whole base is on lockdown. No one says anything. If Reva, who's perfect at everything and yet does nothing right, hadn't shown up, then they would have got away. And then little known fact, a behind the scenes fact here, all of the TIE fighter pilots were on like a team building exercise while this was happening. So because the dozen TIE fighters that they had hanging from
They were all
the
doing
roof,
a low rope course. They were in another compartment doing a low rope course.
they were just building team cohesion. They were doing what we did yesterday for the dream team. They were finding out what their personalities were to try to work better as a team together. So no one could fly any of the TIE fighters that are hanging off the roof when the 2 ships fly away to a ship in orbit. No one chases them. Whenever anyone gets away in this show, it's like, oh well, I guess they're gone then.
But the tracker.
Oh, the tracker.
But the
yeah,
tracker.
The tracker. Vader should have killed her like 4 different times in this show for her incompetence.
Oh yeah.
And if it was literally any other character, he would have. That's what Darth Vader's really known for, is like compassion and sympathy and like giving people second chances. Like that's the well-established character of Darth Vader that we've come to know from the other movies.
Bougie in the chat, by the way, gets play of the day. The TIE fighters lacked a gold person.
Yeah.
It's an inside
gold.
joke, but holy crap, that's really good, dude. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay. We need to move on.
Enough?
Yeah, we need to move on. I think we could sit here and dunk on Disney and Star Wars a whole lot. I'm going to try to make the impossible turn to an actual serious topic now. So I feel like I need a scene change or something. I actually had an Obi-Wan thing pulled up and I didn't pull it, so whatever.
A different channel, like a whole different channel.
Yeah. Look us up over on our Discord now, guys. We'll be in there talking about politics and church. No, the last episode of the Roundtable, we were going to try to get to this, and then we lit the world on fire by talking about Obi-Wan again, and our hearts were not in the right place, and we ended the episode. But today we actually wanted to dive in a little bit into kind of something that's been a little bit pervasive, actually not even a little bit pervasive, a lot pervasive in culture, especially in the West right now. And so Bendit and those that are in kind of our Australian churches, anybody else around the world, you may be experiencing this, but particularly in the United States, and I'm guessing a little bit in Canada as well, there seems to be a mixing of politics and church. And I'm not talking like politics and religion, because that's an entirely different sort of cultish mentality. I'm talking the declaration of right or left politics or whatever we're talking about in the actual church. And we wanted to have a conversation about that because we ostensibly have been in church for long periods of our life. And you listening to this may be in church. And if you're just kind of exploring Jesus and you're just kind of exploring what Lux is, we don't just dunk on Disney. We actually, we want to bring hope into the world. And that hope is our Lord and Savior Jesus. And so we want to have a conversation about him where it's relevant. And this is particularly relevant because politics and church feel, I'm going to say icky, and I don't know if that's the right technical term to use, but I guess let's just toss it to Templar right now, and I'm gonna allow you to kind of spin our conversation a little bit. Should there be conversations about politics in the church world?
So, I mean, in terms of putting this into like a specific context, are we saying that should churches as an organization come out and make political statements? Or are we saying that whether or not political discussions or like members of churches should be discussing or getting invested in politics outside of the church?
I'm going to say with the former first. And later, if
Okay.
we can have that topic, the individual thing gets a little weird because there is a case to be made that biblically we need to not necessarily be political activists, but we need to be active in politics. And I'm talking more the church established, capital C church. Should we
Church
be having
organization.
conversations about politics?
I think when it comes to moral issues, yes. I think it's tough because when I look at churches getting involved in politics, I look at it as sort of I equate it to corporations getting involved in politics. And my general thought is that corporations or organizations should stick to what they're concerned with. And this does tie back to what we were talking about, is like, for me, Disney should focus on entertainment, not politics, right? Like, I don't think they should get involved in the world of politics. It's not their business to do so. Like, I don't think car companies should get involved in the world of politics. Their cars are for presumably everyone. So why would you present it to a specific market? Now, I understand that while churches are nonprofits and like it's not a one-to-one, I understand that. So all that to say, I think churches, when it comes to moral issues, I mean, that is the purview within the purview of the church. So I think when it comes to those types of topics, so let's say abortion, let's say end of life decision making, right? Assisted suicide, euthanasia, when it comes to LGBTQ issues, when it comes to things that the Bible has something to say about, and like we can directly take it from scripture and apply it to a political conversation or a political issue, then yes, I think the church has a place in that conversation, because why shouldn't the church fight for the direction that the culture or the country that it exists in is going? I feel like that's reasonable. Now, do I think churches should be out campaigning? No, not necessarily. And I think they shouldn't really be getting involved in issues that are outside the purview of scripture, or outside the purview of what the church, to me, should really be dealing with, which is issues of faith, issues of morality. So when it comes to an issue like guns, I know guns and the church are very heavily linked in areas of the US. To me, that's not an issue the church should really have much of a stance on, because to me, it's not relevant to anything that the church should really be talking about. It's not directly connected to anything scriptural to me. I'm sure someone can try to make that connection, but I don't see it. Now, individuals from the church, sure, everyone can have their own opinion and you're going to vote the way you're going to vote. But I don't think churches themselves should be making statements on that, or foreign policy outside of maybe calling for aid or charity, things like that, trying to assist people in love. So short answer, yes. I think they have a role to play when it comes to moral issues, and that they should be able to make those known as a church organization, and they should be able to exercise their freedom of religion to do that.
Okay. Nav, follow-up, agree, disagree?
When I look at this, I think I pretty much agree with everything Templar said. I'm not trying to not going to play devil's advocate right now just for sake of time. But I think when it comes to church and politics, we have to measure a couple things, like what is the purpose of the church? And I think we should look at that first. And we do know that the most known commands for followers of Jesus is, one, to make disciples. And then 2 is love God with all your heart, soul, and mind. And the second is like the first, love thy neighbor as thyself. And it says all the commandments hang on these 2. And so when I look at that, I believe we should filter our politics and church through that. I do agree with Templar, like a church should focus on what the church is called to do, kind of like how Disney should stay out of politics, just focus on entertainment. I had a friend of mine. This is just like an illustration. There was a thing with Chick-fil-A here in the States about their stance on marriage. And so there was this protest going on, like locally here in Knoxville. There was LGBTQ people and people that were affirming and for that were in the church and the not church parking lot, sorry, the Chick-fil-A parking lot protesting Chick-fil-A, but then on the other side of the parking lot you had a bunch of Christians protesting like the other one, LG2, and I'm just like okay, like because politics were getting involved in their view on that, but then my friend who was a youth pastor at the time, he was out there in the middle giving water to both sides and saying, hey, Jesus loves you, and he was in the middle, going to both sides, loving your neighbor. That's what he was doing, like literally doing that. And I thought about like, instead of the Christians that were protesting, what if all those Christians were serving the ones that were protesting? Would that make a bigger impact on those people? Anyway, it's something to think about. I've always thought about that right there with what he did. I know the church is called to take a stance on some things too, but when we look, we're supposed to be known for people of peace. And if Paul said, if all possible, live peacefully with all men. And so when you start looking at these things, we're not called to be divisive. The gospel, in a sense, will be divisive because it calls for repentance, to turn from your sins, to follow Jesus. But that's on a spiritual level with an individual, not on a national level with like I guess I'm trying to say like with everyone in the nation. It's like we're supposed to go make disciples individually and reach out to them, build relationships. So when the church takes a political stance saying on this issue and the whole community knows it, it's like, will that help you make disciples in the area? If you're just like, boom, on this right here, instead of saying, hey, there's a nuance to it. We believe this way, but let's talk to you why we believe this way, and then just being harsh, because I feel like the church can be a lot of harsh on a lot of things, and instead of showing grace with truth, it's just like, boom, here's the truth, deal with it.
It's interesting. I think that's a fun road to go down when you start looking at divisiveness in particular. Mark, what are your thoughts, especially being the leader of a digital church, but being the leader of a church? Where do you end up on all of this?
I have so many opinions on this subject. First off, I'm not a very politically minded individual. I don't do a ton in politics. I didn't vote until 2020. So in all of that, like, I've never spent much time listening to it, exploring it, understanding it deeply. But here's, I have a similar opinion. It's different, but I have a similar opinion of the connection between faith and science and faith in politics. The problem comes when any of those step outside the boundaries that they're to be in, and they begin to try to govern or make rules for places they don't belong, right? And so science is in a perfect place when it's trying to explore the world around it and use facts and observations, collecting those things with their senses, and then making us, sort of not just assumptions, but creating facts based on that. Where science steps out of its boundaries and begins to interfere with, religion and faith, is when it begins to step into the questions that faith addresses, right? So faith addresses the questions not of like, how do we exist, but why do we exist? And when science steps out of its boundaries into why do we exist, there starts to become conflict between the two of them. And I think politics is very similar. So you have this really interesting dynamic because the Old Testament is set up as a theocracy. So it's actually a governmental system in the Old Testament where God literally comes to his people while they are wandering around in the desert, and he sets up a political system through the priesthood where he would lead the people into becoming a nation of priests that would be a blessing to others. So there's this theocracy that's set up. That dissolves when we enter a monarchy. And the monarchy is this really interesting dynamic where God speaks to the king, and then the king takes that information, but that falls apart. So God speaks through prophets. And then when we see Jesus, we sort of see this dissolving of that. And really the only things that we see from the apostles is submit to the ruling authorities. But we hear that from them at the same time. Those same guys who wrote that are the ones who were killed for not submitting to the ruling authorities. And so we have this really interesting dynamic of this relationship between governance and faith. And in the same way, there's many times when faith tries to or step out of where it belongs and become government, right? And there's this defending, in my country at least, of we're a Christian nation, which has not been true for a really, really long time. But we seem to want to defend that in one form or another. And then we have areas where government wants to take the role of faith and try to create ideologies, right? And so they're trying to shape culture in a way that can rule out faith. And we see this in communist countries, right? All across the board. Communist countries typically are highly threatened by religion or faith because they want to be able to shape the ideological and thought processes of their people. And so when countries begin to do that and governance begins to do that, it oversteps a boundary. The really interesting thing is that there are things that share, right? There are areas that governance feels like is their area, and and religion feels like it's their area as well. And this is where we get into the most significant areas of friction and debate, which is why we do see so much friction and why we do. I think what's wrong is that there's this assumption inside the church that if you are a person who goes to church, if you are a Christian, then you are by default, these are the political views that you must have.
Yep.
And I would say that there are many political views that are not biblical. That's true on both sides. And probably there's one side that lines up with more traditional biblical views, but that isn't because they're biblical. It's because they're traditional, I think. And so we sort of like resonate with them because we're like, yes, like this is what we believe. But the political stance is they believe that because they're connecting to people who are connected to the way things used to be and want to continue to hold those traditions without reshaping and changing those things, not necessarily because they line up with some level of biblical truth. So my hard part is like, I don't think that there's a political party that's on the side of the faith in particular. And I actually think it's better if America wasn't the poster child for what Christianity is, because it just means that the rest of the world, when they see what America does, that communicates to them, this is what Christians do, or this is what Christians believe. And what America does has, at least in my lifetime, has very rarely been what Christians do or what Christians believe, outside of like a pretty strong desire to see justice happen throughout the world. And I would say even that it has been under attack and under question inside the church. And so should the church be political? I think the church has a right to speak about things that the Bible speaks about. And I think that intersects with some areas that government also rightly believes they have some sort of power or influence over. I think the problem is, like, we have thousands and thousands of people who are deconstructing because they view that the only way they can be part of church is by also being an extreme right wing. And I think that is really screwed up. I think that the message that the church has largely communicated to the culture is that you cannot belong to us in any way if you are not an extreme conservative, at least where I am. And I think that is at best unhelpful and at worst just outright sinful. And so I have more of an issue, less of an issue with the fact that we're in the conversation, more of an issue with the fact that the narrative that has been shaped, sometimes by us, sometimes for us, has been one that says you are incapable of belonging to this group of people in this faith unless you come already as this particular political persuasion, and not just this particular political, but you need to be far enough in that direction, right? You don't have a place with us if you're moderate. And I think that is, and as someone who's politically moderate, like, that's extremely detrimental, I think, to the church, to the gospel, and to lots and lots of people going to hell, because we're more concerned with people's political persuasion when they enter our doors than we are with what they believe about Jesus. And I don't know if I fired up the chat, but like there's paragraphs of text coming through right now. Well, so I'm guessing that I did.
There's good stuff, and it's been taken a little bit. This is kind of a slow boil topic because I think there's a lot on both sides, and Tyrannosaurus West currently reporting in from underneath a house. Be safe.
That's awesome.
Congrats.
6 billion degrees in a crawl space.
Yep.
Watching with us.
Yep, absolutely. So you and the spiders can enjoy politics in church.
Watch out
Frenchie,
for raccoons.
Yeah, there too. And Frenchie and Lady Gun, I love I appreciate your responses, and I don't know that we necessarily have time to get to them, especially with the LGBTQ stuff. That needs to be an entire episode because we
can't even talk about.
Yeah, we need to devote, because what has happened in the United States, and feel free to flame me or strike me or whatever, but what has happened in the chat is every single issue has now been tied to something political, because number one, it sells. It's just rage. It's outrage. It is, it's the outrage cancel culture we've been living in that has been promoted by things like social media, but really has just been an evolution of the human psyche over thousands of years. So outrage culture sells, and that it's easy to tie things to political things, number one. Number two, the influence of the church in the West in particular has been on the decline, and people are looking towards larger things, larger communities to tie them back together. And the quickest thing for many people to do is to direct their eyes away from a church, which you can find a million different faults in any church. We're people. We are broken, sinful, fault-filled, sin-stained people. And you can find a million faults with every church. And the quickest thing for somebody to do is point out, okay, look, there's a sexual thing here, and there's a pastor fallen here, and this person, and well, I'm just leaving the church. And then you're left with this void, and the void is easily filled with a political party, a political stance, a political something or other. And so it's easy to take LGBTQ issues and tie it directly to a political party. It's easy to take gun control and tie it to a political party. But what we're actually missing is vibrant, real discourse. I listen to a podcast. It's a sports podcast. I listen to it all the time. It's called The Dan Le Batard Show. It's one of the funniest podcasts out there. I don't necessarily agree with Dan Le Batard on all of his political stances, nor do I have to. I would like to be a moderate. There is no way you can be a moderate in this world right now. I would love to be walking down a road of, hey, I would like to filter things through the Bible, which may be a moderate, I don't know, fiscal, whatever we want to call it. But I was listening to, they had a guest on. The guest believed things that they didn't believe, and it automatically turned into a flame fest. And it was one of those things that I became so uncomfortable listening to, because it was like nobody wanted to have an actual discourse. Nobody wanted to actually talk about something. Instead, they just wanted to yell about their side. Nobody's mind was changed. Reddit blew up, and it was just this glorious, fun thing for everybody. And meanwhile, I'm sitting in my car in the car wash as it's going through the car wash, listening to this and going, I don't know how I, as a Christian, should respond to this. And I felt despondent a little bit. And I know a lot of you out there listening to this, watching this, if you're listening on podcasts or if you're watching it live or as a VOD, you may feel despondent. And there is really no steps to take outside of, let's continue to pray as a church. Let's continue to filter everything that we can through the Bible. Let's continue to manage our responses. And most importantly, let's try to listen a little bit more. Yeah, we have fun and we can flame Disney and we can blow up Obi-Wan and we can do all those things. And like, okay, if I walked up to Mr. Disney, whoever the head of Bob Iger or whatever that guy's name is, or whoever the CEO of Disney, I'm gonna shake his hand. I'm gonna say, hey, thanks for everything you're doing, because whatever, you're the CEO of Disney. But I'm gonna seek in my regular real life to listen more, to act a little bit less, to be a little bit slower to anger, to be a little bit more intentional about the outrage culture, because that's really the only way we can win. Mark, I can see you smiling there. Who is the last prophet in Christianity? Is that what we're jumping into here?
Yeah, I love trick questions.
Yep.
So I was just I was just laughing at it. That's
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great question. Cool. What am I missing about this topic? Anything before we wrap up here?
No, I'll just say this. A lot of the stuff is directly linked to a lot of the LGBTQ stuff. That's not what we're talking about.
Right.
And there's a whole wide range of reasons why that's not what we're talking about. If you want to talk about it with me, that you can. But this isn't even something I've talked about at large with the church. And as the leader of the church, like, I'm not having that conversation in this forum. Like, this is an improper place to have it. It may be a place to unpack it. but it's not the right place to have it. And so that's why we're not talking about it. And I know as soon as we talked about politics, that's immediately what people would be asking what we're getting into. So Frenchie, I see your question. We're not going to talk about it live on this stream. If you want to talk to me about it, you can DM me about it. We can set up a time in the future where you and I can get together. Lady Gunn, thank you so much for participating. The last prophet, it would depend on whether or not you believe that God continues to speak through the prophets or not. There are people who fill the role of prophet, but likely the last quote unquote prophet we could probably say is John the Baptist. If you want to qualify a title, there may have been some after, but if you're looking at the prophets, the age of prophets ending with the coming, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus, John would be the last one. And if you believe that the gift of prophecy continues, then there's been many prophets afterwards. I believe the gift of prophecy continues to exist today. So I believe there's been many prophets afterwards. And I believe the role of prophet is alive at every church. The role of prophet, from my perspective, in my opinion, is those who call God's people back to righteousness. And so that's the strongest calling on my life in terms of my teaching and preaching. I reside mostly in the voice of the prophet. But that doesn't make me a prophet. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but the book of Ephesians tells us that Christ gave 4, some would say 5 pieces to the church. I say there's 4 pieces to the church. The pastor teacher, which some say are 2, I say are 1 because it's one word in the Greek. The prophets, the evangelists, and the apostles. So that's church planters. Evangelists are those who spread the word of God. Prophets call people back to righteousness. And pastor teacher are those who raise up and teach and shepherd churches. So the role of prophet is still alive and well. That's probably a far more detailed answer than you were hoping you would get, Hack, but there it is.
This is great.
So, there's some really good responses in the chat here. We just don't have time based on the formatting of this show to get into all of these ideas. So please don't feel like if we weren't able to get to your thought here that we're not interested in it. For my part, I will look back at this stream and look at some of these comments to see what we can take and discuss in future episodes. Also, if you're not a member of the Discord, please come over there. We have a whole channel in Discord called Spiritual Discussion, where we can talk about whatever, but issues just like some of the ones that many of you are asking about. And that's a place where there are many people from our team who are happy to have those discussions with you. And if the general membership of the Discord can't help you with it, there are specific people who are, a part of the Dream Team or a part of our church that would be able to discuss with you about just about any issue you could think of. So please check that out. Thank you for all the discussion, though. It's a bit of a tough topic, but thank you, everyone, for keeping it civil. And Chino was getting into some issues there in terms of the more personal outside of it. And we will also be addressing that further in forthcoming episodes. So
definitely
look out for that. So sorry, I guess I'm doing your job of wrapping things up here, Chino. My bad.
Dude, if you want to host, I am down to let you steer. You're the captain now. I dubbed you the captain at the very beginning.
I'm the captain. I'm the captain now.
Hey, look at me. I'm the captain now.
I'm the captain now.
Yeah, just insert meme here. Everybody in the chat, thanks so much. I don't know. Can we do ! Discord? I don't know that I have that. Oh, somebody already
done, bro.
Thanks, dude.
Mark,
I appreciate it.
all over it.
Jump into our Discord. We'd love to have this conversation. We love you. We thank you so much for joining us here on the Roundtable. We'll be back in 2 weeks for more fun. We promise no Obi-Wan chat. We'll probably actually get into something that's a little, hopefully, well, I don't know what we're going to get into.
Stranger.
You think so?
Stranger.
Yeah?
A little stranger.
Something.
Stranger Things.
I like it. If I can just play that
you like
music.
What I did there?
Yeah, I appreciate that. If I can just play the soundtrack underneath and not get us kicked, it'll be great. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We love you. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See you guys.